What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another Dragonflight video. How are you all doing? We're talking about Ellie Shaman today. We are going to do some Ellie Shaman things. I don't know why it took me so long to get to Ellie Shaman. I think, like, Ellie Shaman hasn't really been tuned as well as some of the other classes and specs in the game yet. And I think that it's been a bit of a frustration for me, and I'm kind of waiting for them to really get Ellie Shaman into like a really good place, tuning wise. And it's not terrible, it's not bad. It's just like really frustrating when you're trying to compare numbers to like Demon Hunters and Prot Warriors who have clearly not had the tuning pass still yet. They're probably getting to it, I'm sure, but they still haven't been nerfed like appropriately. And so it just makes sort of gauging how good this is, that can be a little bit tougher sometimes. But I do have some dungeon footage for you guys, and there's some really good moments in there where we're doing, 35, almost up to 40k DPS in AoE, and that's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. And the one build that I'm going to show you today is the fire build for Ellie Shaman. And then we'll get to the dungeon footage in a minute. Let me just pull that up over here so that we've got it ready to go. Okay. It'll be there. Okay. So first of all, a couple things. I'm trying to do a fire build with Liquid Magma Totem, the new Liquid Magma Totem, and if you don't know, this now adds Flame Shock to 3 enemies within 9 yards, which is very, very cool. And it does a decent amount of damage. It does more damage than it did before in Shadowlands, so that's very cool. Obviously, going down the fire side of the tree, you're going to be getting Lava Surge. You get Call of Fire, which gives you 10% more damage. You get Improved Flame Tongue, which gives you 5% more damage. Flame Shock does damage faster. You got your Fire Ellie at the top, which makes your Flame Shocks go 33% faster and then last twice as long, just like the old Fire Elemental used to do. Master the Elements here, which is good. I actually should have 2 points into this probably, but maybe there's no way to do that. I would probably want to take 2 points out of this, but I can't because I need to have access to Primordial Wave. So I'd have to fish around with my points here a little bit. Potentially I could do this. Let's do this. What if we go here and then take one out of here, and then go here, then put into there? Right, that doesn't work for some reason. We'd have to get rid of Power of the Maelstrom altogether, which we could, right? Yeah, there you go. That's what you would do. This is what I should have done, but anyway, it's fine. So there's some really good components here. Number one, you still have the Master of the Elements buff, giving you 20% more damage to your next physical fire or frost spell after you cast Lava Burst, which this build is going to be casting Lava Burst. That's what you're doing. This is the build where you're trying to trigger Deeply Rooted and you're trying to cast Lava Burst as much as possible. And I do also have Skybreakers at the end here, which makes all my Flame Shocks do more damage. The other little addition here is Ice Fury coming in with Electrified Shocks, and it does a surprising amount of damage once you get it going. So let me just show you kind of rotationally how this would work and what it's going to look like. So start it with Fire Ellie, and we're going to go here, and then we're going to get our... Oh, I messed that up. Anyway, that's fine. We'll go here. There we go. We're off to the races. You always want to try and... I got a proc on Deary. You want to try and layer a Lava Burst into a Earthquake. That's what you always want to try and do. And we're going to get Ice Fury going now. You can also do Lava Burst into Ice Fury, and that'll make the Ice Fury damage way higher as well. There's another proc. one more Ice Fury after this. There we go. So this is the basic idea here. You're basically just pressing Lava Burst as much as possible, and while your Fire Ellie is up, everything's going to be lasting a lot longer. Look at all the procs that we're getting here. Boom, boom, boom. It's very, very good. It doesn't look like this in a dungeon. It's not as smooth as this in a dungeon, but this is the general idea. Our Flame Shocks might start to fall off here. And this is where you can use your Liquid Magma Totem once again to basically refresh your Flame Shocks, which is really, really cool. So here we go. We're going to do that right now. Liquid Magma Totem. Okay, so that refreshes my Flame Shocks. Now I can press Totemic Recall to get my Liquid Magma Totem back for the next pack. Okay, which is very cool. We're getting all the procs on DR. You can see how many procs we're getting. Lots of procs on DR. Now I have Liquid Magma Totem back. I'm going to fire it off again, just because I can, just to show you guys how it works. But ideally, you would hold a second Liquid Magma Totem for a different pack. That's what you would do. I got 2 more charges of Ice Fury. Lava Burst into Ice, into Frost Shock every time. You want to do Lava Burst before you do anything else. It's always the way it works. Now, I also have one of the last components of the build is that my Primordial Wave will actually cool down based on how many overloads I'm getting. You can see whenever I'm getting an overload on Lava Burst, it's cooling down my Primordial Wave, which is very, very cool. You can see it's almost back. Instead of it being like a 40-second cooldown, it's more like probably a 20-second cooldown, if I had to think about it. Probably something like that. There we go. Everything's getting a little bit slower now. One more Ice Fury. And then we got our Primordial Wave back. We'll do it one more time, and boom. And we got our Liquid Magma Totem back. Regular Liquid Magma Totem. We don't have the ability to recall it, but that's okay. There we go. We got another DRE proc. Boom. So one thing that's really cool about the build is that you're not relying on DRE, Deeply Rooted, right, to be your only, like, legendary. In Shadowlands, Deeply Rooted Elements wasn't very good because it's your only legendary. And that just means that, like, you're stuck waiting for the proc, hoping for it to go, and if it doesn't, then you're kind of screwed. And in this case, it's not like that. You have a lot of other tools that you're working with that are giving you lots of consistent damage, lots of consistent Maelstrom generation, and you don't need the proc on DRE to make it all work. So, I have like 5 Earthquakes down right now. So, that's the build, and it really is nice to only have DRE as like 1 talent point. It makes it so much better to have it just as 1 talent point versus an entire legendary that I have to spend all my points on. So, this is how this is going to look. Again, this is the Master of the Elements build. You're looking for Earthquake will be the top damage because you're always buffing it by 20% down here with Master of the Elements. Always, always, always try and start your chain with a Lava Burst before you press that Earthquake, or else it's not going to do as much damage. On top of that, Lava Burst is up there. Of course, Lava Burst Overload is up there. How many times did we press Primordial Wave? We got 6 Primordial Waves off in a 3-minute fight. 3 minutes and 20 seconds. So that's 2 per minute. So that's on average once every 30 seconds. So the cooldown of Primordial Wave is actually 45 seconds, but we're casting it every 30 seconds, and that's because of this right here, Rolling Magma. Lava Burst and Lava Burst Overload damage reduces the cooldown of Primordial Wave by 0.5 seconds. Now, I feel like this is not really triggering enough because, like, I'm sending out so many Lava Bursts that it must only be proccing on 1 target, so it could actually be bugged. Like, for the amount of Lava Bursts that ended up hitting those targets, it hit 119 times. And then my Lava Burst Overload hit 33 times. So, like, that should have probably cooled down Primordial Wave faster. So, again, I feel like that's a little bit bugged for Ellie Shaman and is part of the reason why their damage is a little bit lower. Also, Liquid Magma Totem is struggling in dungeons. I've had so many times in dungeons where I throw it down and it doesn't seem to add Flame Shocks to multiple enemies. It'll just add, like, 1 Flame Shock. And it's like, I definitely have enough enemies in range, and it's not adding it correctly. So they definitely have some tuning and stuff to work on for that side of things. And I do hope that they end up fixing that because these little bugs are very, very frustrating. They're definitely going to, like, ruin the experience for most Ellie Shaman players. So, yeah, just a bit of a frustrating one. So. Again, I do want to stress as we get into this dungeon footage that Demon Hunters and Prot Warriors have not been nerfed yet. They are still way, way overtuned. I actually had a dungeon that I wanted to record before this one, and I ended up forgetting to press the record button, so that was fun. But it was a much better, like, showing for Ellie Shaman here versus some of these really overpowered classes right now. Everything dies, like, way too quick here because the Demon Hunters are doing 80,000 damage and 50,000 damage, right? So kind of very frustrating. It's really difficult to test anything. We need to wait till Mythic Plus rolls in because, like, Earthquake is a damage over time ability. It takes time to do its damage, of course, and like these, look at this, 180k on this Demon Hunter. He just presses the hunt and does like 1,000,000 damage in 1 second. So that's a very frustrating experience, but we ended up doing 33k there. The damage that we're doing is actually perfectly fine. I want to make sure I always stress this. the damage that Ellie Shaman's doing is actually fine with this build. It's not as good, I don't think, as it could be. Maybe isn't as good as the Lightning variant of the Ellie Shaman builds, but we're doing 21k, 22k on single target boss fights. That is a good number, guys. That is a very, very good number. Just keep that in mind. Doing 21 to 25k on a single target boss fight, that'll be very, very good for you. And in an actual Mythic Plus environment, it's going to be much more accurate to what our damage profile actually is. So there's a lot of things that also interrupt you in this dungeon in particular, and that was a very frustrating experience for a caster. It's like I'm trying to stand there and cast, and I can't. So that can be a difficult experience as well. A little quick tip on this guy. Remember, when he goes to knock you back, you can stand next to the wall. So he does expel intruders. He's doing it right now. If you're standing against these pillars, you get knocked up against the pillar and you won't die. Our healer, I believe, ended up flying right off the edge here. The monk ended up dying. Unfortunate for him. But, yeah, it's kind of difficult to show you some of this footage now because heroic dungeons are a bit of a joke. Especially when some of these classes haven't been tuned yet. So this is really kind of dumb. Like, this guy's doing 99k damage right there. Like, he just pressed the Hunt and he pressed Glaive Tempest. That's all he did. And it did 99k. So not the correct number whatsoever. Let me move forward. There's a little bit more. This boss fight's okay. The dialogue was way behind on this boss fight, actually, so that was kind of frustrating. And also, I ended up doing the mechanics on this boss fight. Nobody else is doing any mechanics. I think they're just not even doing them over there. So they're just standing there doing damage while I'm trying to actually do the mechanics of the fight. So once again, another like kind of frustrating experience where on Mythic Plus, you need to do the mechanics of this fight, and you need to actually do it correctly, or else it's not going to go very well for you. So anyway. Let me move forward to the final bunch of trash packs here. We did a little bit more damage here, I think. Again, we're looking for the DPS at this point. You're looking for something but like up to 30k. You want to be doing like 30k in an AoE situation. We're doing a little bit less than that here, but again, the packs are dying in like 5 seconds. That's not really ideal for Ellie Shaman. It just doesn't work out well for Ellie Shaman if things are dying that quickly. Also, our haste values are pretty low because it's early in the expansion. And some classes, I mean, I know Demon Hunters do need haste, but again, Demon Hunters are just tuned way, way too high right now. And I really do hope that Blizzard fixes this soon because it gives you like an inaccurate reading on all of these fights, on everything that's going on here. It's like I can't even get my rotation started, because the Demon Hunter's doing 60k right out of the gates, and I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do about that. So, anyway, there's the boss fight dying right there. We ended up doing about 26k again on a boss fight. Doing 26k overall in a boss fight is very, very good, guys. So, again, just keep this all in mind. It's very, very good. Ultimately, the bigger question that we need to ask is, how does this feel to play? And the Fire one feels really great to play, especially with Ice Fury. Really, really enjoy the Ice Fury variant, actually. It gives you some flexibility in terms of your ability to move around and still do damage. So you can move and throw off your Frost Shock just right away, which is really cool. It's instant cast. So you combine that with the haste that you get from Primordial Wave, and it's very, very cool. And you get all the Earthquakes leveled over top of it. There's a lot of fun going on with this playstyle here. So you can see we bounce up to 30k there. This is where we want to be. The range that we want to be. These mobs, if they had lasted 10 seconds longer, all my Earthquakes would actually be able to do their damage, and we would have done way, way more damage. So I'm going to do another dungeon with the Lightning build, where we take maybe 2 charges of Stormkeeper or Stormkeeper, and then the Lightning Conduit talent, which I think is actually better. And I'm going to show you a dungeon with that build as well. Obviously, I'm not doing it right here. This is just the fire build. I wanted to test this out first, but I think that build will also be a lot of fun to play, and it will be very, very different. Look at this. Watch the look at that. Bounce us right out with Gust of Wind. Really actually love that. That ability for Ellie Shaman, I think, is definitely the king. You want to take Gust of Wind so you can get out of sticky situations, but I'm just going to skip through here to the very end, and there you go. That's dungeon footage right there for Ellie Shaman. Now, what do we think? Once again, of course, I do want to say that So much of what's going on right now is that these guys are not tuned yet. You know, different. All the warriors and the demon hunters are just not tuned yet at all. You can see on the dummies, on only 4 targets here, we're able to sustain more than 33k DPS. So if we had 10 targets that were lasting longer, then we would be doing way, way, way more damage because our frost shocks would be cleaving with electrified shocks. It's going to hit only 3 additional enemies, but then our earthquakes on top of that, they're going to be hitting all enemies, and we're going to be buffing it with Master the Elements. So this playstyle is very, very simple. You basically get as many flame shocks up as you can very, very quickly, and you can do that now with the brand new Liquid Magma Totem. It helps you get 3 additional flame shocks up, okay? So that's a great way to get them up. And then once they're up, you're pressing Lava Burst as much as possible to try and trigger Deeply Rooted Elements. You can get an additional Flame Shock up with Primordial Wave. And then you're getting the big haste bonus from Splintered Elements. And you're cooling down Rolling Magma with your Lava Burst and your Lava Burst overloads happening all the time. So you're just pressing Lava Burst over and over and over again, fishing for the DRE procs, but the entire time it's so much easier now for you to get those Flame Shocks up and running because of Liquid Magma Totem, and your Fire Elemental is extending the duration of all your Flame Shocks, keeping them up for a longer period of time. And then you're making sure to alternate between pressing Lava Burst and Earthquake to get the most damage out of your Earthquakes. That's the whole rotation, guys. That is the whole build. That is the fire build for Ellie Shaman in an actual dungeon setting and on the dummies here. Once again, kind of difficult to show you guys some of this footage. I had a much better video, I think, on the other dungeon, but it is what it is. There you go. So let me know what you guys think about the fire build. I do believe they're going to buff this build. They need to buff some of the tuning on some of these talents. So something like Liquid Magma Totem could get buffed. Something like Magma Chamber could get buffed a little bit as well. Skybreakers could also get buffed, possibly, if they want to do that. So I think there's actually a lot of tweaking that they could do. I do think that Rolling Magma is bugged. I don't think it's cooling down Lava Burst as much as it says it is. But we'll just have to wait and see. So thank you guys so much again for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about the fire build. I am going to do a lightning build. We're going to go on the left side of the tree and explore all the lightning stuff. So stay tuned for that as well. Drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I love you all. I'll see you guys in the next one.